that I would wish to say a big thank you again to my colleagues. You've been wonderful. I don't know where they got all the law from, but you'll be surprised. Dr. Tuguba, all of them. Felix, I know that some who know if you want to be mentioned. And what's another? You can't believe it. Gone hungry. But the most important thing is that these colleagues have worked pro bono. You know what that means? What the lawyers say? They worked without being paid. Not even petrol money. And really, I don't know whether it's done at press conferences, but I think that don't add me to it. If you can, just put your hands together for these, my colleagues. If you think. Yes, I would want to end pretty soon, but I would just want to say that the work that you've done, my colleagues, is to defend Mrs. Betty Mould Iddrisu. That's great. But at the same time, I hope that you and all other Ghanaians will stand up for the one innocent person who is being accused, who may be accused unfairly. That is the remit of our law. We say that it is better for 99 people to escape than one innocent person to be jailed. Today we had it. People were asking Mrs. Betty Mould Iddrisu, why did she didn't come earlier to tell them? But what you are telling us is different from what the other people came over to say. You see, it leads to some areas which need to be done. Our constitution is a dynamic document. Parliament is dynamic. And we think that there are areas of reform which must be undertaken. The processes and procedures which, underpin our operations, for instance, of PAC, will need to be looked at again. It will be healthy for everybody. As Madame pointed out, she raised about 4 major objections, not because she didn't want to speak, but it's all right. You can't have a situation where for 5 months, people come and make horrendous allegations against one person, kill her soul. At the end of 5 months, it's like, oh, the people were uninformed. In law, we have what is said the opportunity clause, where if you call somebody and before you and is given evidence that is damaging to another person's character, and the person is not there, you say, please, hold on. We'll call the other person. That's it. But she was convicted. She was accused, tried, and convicted in the media everywhere. Who doesn't know that Betty Mould Iddrisu teamed up with CP to dupe Ghana? You understand? That's what it is. But our law says that they must have fair trial. Article 19 of the Constitution calls for fair trial. When you accuse somebody, you must make the person have the opportunity to respond to the allegations. Not 5 months after. A person must have all the access to the what do you call it, to counsel and all that. But I would end by saying that Mrs. Betty Mould Iddrisu happily is here. She's gone through the pain. We've worked with her within the last 5 months, and we know what she's gone through. Her family, Alhaji Mohammed Iddrisu, my own colleague, think that there's very little we can say. The fact that her presence today in that chamber will restore their strength and confidence in themselves and in truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to introduce the first female Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana.
officials in the fight. Right from the day I entered the office, all of you, and so many others, my women lawyers, so many others, the women of the NDC, the women of the NDC, I just love you. You have all believed in me through prayers, so many prayers. You have walked this awful, awful, awful journey with me. 5 months since these attacks started. I don't know how to thank you. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's only God. But let me just say that formally, express my appreciation to you and to this great family I belong to, the NDC. I love you, and I'm always there with you. Always there with you.
We love you too.
The attacks that came about related to my conduct as the Attorney General and Minister of Justice in settling claims arising out of international arbitral awards between CP and the government of Ghana. Today we are here to talk about CP. I want to place on record that I refute all these allegations, any speculation that I may have acted improperly in negotiating the settlement of the arbitral award. Apart from me personally exercising due care and skill at all material times, I had the benefits of the advice and recommendations of relevant government officials, including state attorneys, colleague ministers, officials from the Ministry of Finance, and Ghana's own highly reputable accredited external counsel. This statement, you would have heard some of it before, but I want to address two main issues on the conduct of the hearings. That is why we decided to have this small interaction with you. The Public Accounts Committee and the Honorable Chair's conduct of the PAC. The main issues raised by the PAC in the interrogation of the issues of CP. The conduct of the proceedings. The issue that the PAC was seized of was the payment of 14 million euro in the 2009 public accounts. The Auditor General had just queried in his notes to those accounts that they needed the explanation of why the 2009 14 million was not backed by an agreement. This was then used to launch a whole interrogation spanning 5 months into the settlement agreement, reopened issues already decided by an international court of arbitration. A few of these examples, let us refresh our memory so we know why we are here. There were persistent references throughout the PAC hearings to a fraud inquiry carried out during the MPP's tenure. And yet, did you ever hear the PAC talking about why the MPP abrogated the contracts in 2001? Why did they abrogate the CP contracts? Why? Because this is what has led to all of these liabilities. The PAC investigation also didn't bring out the fact that that fraud case that they are talking about, it was never even filed. It was thrown out by the International Arbitral Tribunal, that it was the courts in Ghana, the people in Ghana could not prove the fraud. Yet, what did we see? The case hadn't even gone to court. They hadn't charged anybody. Yet, we saw PAC inviting former directors of the Serious Fraud Office, former Ghana Highway Authority officials to come and testify again, reopening the whole scenario again, come and testify again about fraud allegations that were never proven. Why? They didn't speak about the fact that the former government lost all of the actions brought against the government of Ghana. They lost each and every one of the actions. CP won all the actions. There was no investigation by PAC that the former government persistently refused to pay the undisputed, and we read it to them, that these were undisputed certified certificates for works which had been carried out by CP. Since 2001, certified. And because of that, interest alone became 2/3 of the amount that CP claimed. And that interest is imposed by our own courts and by any foreign court you go to. The interest is not something that the lawyers sit down. The judges impose the interest. Today you've heard me giving a lot of explanations. The allegations of my unprofessional conduct, about unsigned, undated agreements. I don't even know what to say. I spoke that this was used to brand the entire agreement as fraudulent. And yet, we who do international arbitrations know that this is a perfectly acceptable legal tool under international arbitrations. In fact, it's part of what is called the Bullock principle, that you bring in a document when there's default. It is there. And as I said, it's unfortunate that this document was only interpreted to the PAC way down in the hearings, maybe about the 12th or 15th hearing, when the deputy director of the legal unit came to tell them what it meant. That was when they stopped. They said that the agreement was not witnessed. Therefore, I was unprofessional. I was incompetent as an attorney general. I'm fraudulent as an attorney general. Meanwhile, in law, an agreement does not need to be witnessed. It is deeds that need to be witnessed. A deed needs to be signed, sealed, delivered, and witnessed. Statements such as, I cannot believe that the Attorney General has the power to bind Ghana by signing such an agreement. That was by the Honorable Chair of PAC himself. It led to me being publicly ridiculed. Then they went off into what I have very strong views about, the power of the Attorney General. Why did the Constitution, I ask you who are non-lawyers here, why on earth would our Constitution put in the Attorney General as the only minister whose functions are clearly defined under Article 88? It is because of the duality, as Nana Tudadzi said, of the role, and to insulate the Attorney General from any executive interference. No Attorney General ever needs to go to any executive and obtain any approval for conducting a case once that case is conducted professionally. Once that case is conducted professionally and in the best interest of the Republic of Ghana. I could go on and on about these problems. I could go on and on. But when an Attorney General, like any lawyer, is representing a client, and in our case, we represent the whole Republic. I was a director. I was the legal advisor for the Commonwealth. 54 member countries. We gave advice to presidents and to ministers of justice and other people. Why does anyone think that we would go out of our role, out of what the Constitution sets us, to do something that is not appropriate or indeed constitutional? The one thing that has always struck me is in this rather, not murky, but in this rather difficult public debate about judgment debts. One thing that has always struck me is what Nana keeps referring to. The converse is the truth. No lawyer steps into litigation when there is a clear duty to settle or when the case is plain to you. Once there is any opportunity to settle, the law and the Ghana Bar Association's Code of Ethics imposes that duty on us as lawyers. We would need to be mindful of that, keep that at the back of our minds when we are having a discourse on judgment debts and the power of the Attorney General. Of course, if we act unprofessionally, of course, if we act fraudulently, of course, if we act incompetently, then you have reason to talk. But please, know that this is within the power of the Attorney General. We have gone into great detail with PAC about how I continued the investigation into the settlement agreement, whether or not we could go on with what had already been started. As Attorney General, when I assumed office as Attorney General, there was earlier documented liability recommendations, a plethora of documentation to see that the previous government had also gone very far towards negotiations and entering into a global settlement with CP. They can deny it now. The letters are there. The evidence is there. Evidenced even further by the fact that Honorable Dr. Akutose initiated payment of the 14 million euro, which is what PAC originally questioned. This was initiated by the former government in respect of the warrant. And it was to be issued, in fact, it was issued on the 6th of January, 2009. A day before handing over. This came to my notice because we needed to find out what was happening with CP. And at that time of transition, all of these payments were stopped and they were to be endorsed by the minister when we took up office. When I took up office in February, this was the scenario waiting for me. Multiplicity of judgment debts. Default judgments galore. Garnishis. Do you know what garnishi means? It means that after you have entered a final award, you can then, the courts will then enter for you, and you can then go into execution and sell. Or they place a lien. They place a lien.
The person's account without his knowledge. His bank account.
This is what was happening when I took office as Attorney General in 2009. I was even in the UK when the Ministry of Justice people had to go to the Supreme Court to try and get a declaration from our Supreme Court that no government accounts could be garnished. It was this bad. To walk into such a situation in February 2009, it would have been irresponsible of me and lacking in my primary duty to Ghanaians, that is, to mitigate liability. It would have been irresponsible of me. there were so many issues that went on, and many of them have been recited during this PAC hearing. When eventually the CP came to Ghana in order to meet us and look at the long-standing negotiations, I was immediately confronted by a claim of 162 million euro with daily interest. I was telling the chairman of the committee, daily interest, it's a figure I will never forget in all of my life. Daily interest amounting to 12,700 euro.
From 2002.
From 2002.
12 hours.
I mean, what is a responsible attorney general to do? To go and revive a fraud case which had not even been sent to court by the former government from 2002. In 2006, the tribunal stated clearly that they went into the allegations of fraud and that there was no fraud that could be proved. There was no prima facie case of fraud. And in law, when you get a judgment, that is the end of it. In international arbitration, here, if the Supreme Court speaks, can we say anything? When they said that Jake Obeche-Bilamte is entitled to the house, what happened? What happened? I mean, these are difficult decisions. They are difficult decisions. Our own soldiers who go on the UN peacekeeping are UNIFIL accounts. The CP people they had gone to court in the US, they had gone to court in France, they had gone to court in the UK, they had gone to court in Belgium to clear Ghana's assets. Today I heard them saying that, but they didn't get anything. They got something. They went to put, what do you call the auction notices on cocoa marketing companies' warehouses in the UK. What happened? They ran and paid. They ran and paid in June 2008. They ran and paid. And we had to pay not only the award with interest, but we also had to pay the cost of that execution award. I mean, so when you look at the award, the product of a trial ended in a majority verdict of 2-1 against the state. PAC itself has said, courtesy of lawyer Philip Addison in the Rockshell case, that they themselves now know that they have no power of review over court judgments or international arbitration awards. And I told them, you cannot continue doing that to a country. Rejecting awards, abrogating, terminating contracts. You lose investor confidence. Indeed, with this, can I say the word, gargantuan, unprecedented interest that has been paid painfully by all of us sitting here. We are all taxpayers. We all had to pay it. And I had to, it was the most painful thing I had to do in my life. 1 year of negotiations with the CP. The PAC made it seem that I sat in a corner and did what you call it, Yenchendi. Wanchendi. 1 year going through with CP, talking to various ministers and ministries and seeing how we could best arrive at the best possible negotiation. And they themselves had tried to negotiate, and the CP had refused. They had refused for several years. They spoke about settlement agreements containing a waiver of tax. I challenged them. Show that agreement to any lawyer. And I told them, I, Betty Mould Iddrisu, have practiced law for over 32 years. His Excellency President Mills had the confidence in me and made me Ghana's first female Attorney General. I know that the Attorney General of Ghana cannot waive taxes. It is only Parliament that can waive taxes. Any lawyer who read that settlement agreement knows that CP has not been granted any waiver of taxes. Anyway, in law, if a state needs to collect its taxes, nothing stops them from going after CP, the same way CP came after us. If we believe we have a good case now, they should go after them. I am not the paying officer. I did not pay that money to the CP. I did not pay it. Nothing stops the state, if there are legitimate grounds, to go and pursue those taxes. I want to end here by, because I'm very tired, and I know you all are. I want to end here by a very emphatic and vigorous denial of any wrongdoing during my tenure as Attorney General, and in particular today, in the settlement of claims against the government of Ghana by CV. I believe that what has happened, misinterpretation of the settlement agreement, selective targeting of contentious issues, politicization of events, press conferences being held by the minority where they prejudged me as fraudulent, incompetent, arbitrary and capricious decisions being made. There is a problem. There is a problem. And we need to do something about that problem, not only as a party, as a government in power. I want the good people of Ghana to know through you that I acted professionally at all material times. I acted in the interest of my dear country, Ghana. And I acted in the best interest of the state. I thank
you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when Mrs. Betty Mould Iddrisu says that she acted professionally, I keep elbowing her. Give an example, but she sounds too modest. Today, I was compelled to tell Park that, listen, AMA properties are being sold. She advised that we should settle that matter. They actually arrived at a figure. AMA people said, no, we'll go back to court. We'll win in court. So, the thing about, is it 8 million or 10 million or so, or 30 million? They went back to court and they lost. City and Country Waste have entered judgment for 35 million euro. 45 million. The thing that she settled for 12 or 13 or 16 or 17. And everybody say, hey. Now, we have to pay $47 million or so. My friends will say, did we go? Or what? Did we come? That is the wisdom in having an Attorney General exercise his or her discretion. He will look at all the documents, study it, and say, as for this case, if we go forward, not that we will lose, but we are likely to lose. That exercise of discretion. I've heard some other lawyers who say, whether we like it or not, we should go to court. I've said that. I'm afraid I wish I could agree to that. But City and Country Waste is an example of where if you don't exercise a discretion, you might end up paying double or triple what it is. The Bible says, for those who read the Bible at times, it says, when you are owing, I don't know whether anybody read the Bible that. It said, when you are owing, it said, run immediately to your creditor and settle with him before he pulls you before the judge. Is that not what the Bible says? And there, the thing will be double, and you put you in prison until you pay every person. That is judgment debt for you. You understand? On this note, I would wish to say that we'll open the floor for a few questions. As I said, it's been a long day, but anybody who has any question pertaining to the CP matter, as we're discussing, what happened at the park, fine. If you don't have, we all want to stretch our legs. Any question? Thank you very much. No question.
No, I think there's somebody there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Two. I've seen two hands.
No, there's another one here. Go ahead.
What's your name?
No, Joyce. Oh, please go ahead.
Wait, let's handle it.
My name is Abimani from Peace FM.
Yes, Peace FM.
Auntie Betty.
No, you address the chairman. Please.
Okay, Nana. I want to find out from the Honorable former Attorney General whether her decision to resign as a minister has something to do with the issues that she's confronted with now. And again, I remember one of the government communication team members in the person of Mr. Ofusu Banche stating that Betty was just, her actions were just sheer incompetence.
He's here on my iPad. He's my son, so we forgive him. Thank you very much, Nana. Can I answer?
No, I think that will be more. Well, as chairman, with all due respect, sir, as a chairman, I said let's limit ourselves to the direct issues of CP. The question of to resign or not to resign, I think that she's explaining. She wrote whatever, said I've on personal grounds, whatever. I think let's just leave it at that. As she said, whatever anybody said against her, she said she's a mother. She has a big heart. In any case, there's something sweeter than what happened today for her. Yes, next question.
Yes, my question is that my name is Walano Frank from Metro TV. Today, whilst you were answering to some of the questions, you said that as an Attorney General, you are bounded by certain secrecy, oath of secrecy. But confidential, yes. These issues that has to do with the CP issue, these are public issues. So I thought that you could have come out and then spoken directly to the issues when the questions were being posed.
But maybe I'll help her.
So
Exactly what were you expecting that was not said? Even though she only put in that as a caveat. He said it's only a caveat. But she ended up opening everything, and then the people asked all the questions. You were there until there were no more questions. So what was missing? Maybe you can help.
In terms of legal advice, which is privileged.
Yes, I'm looking at the legal. She was representing us. She was representing the state. Yes, and she was being pushed to divulge certain information. So that is where I'm coming from. I know. I will let you. You see, I'm sorry. I don't want to appear to be difficult. No, Chief, are you listening? Yes, I am. We have what we term counsel-client privilege. We have what you call doctor-patient privilege. We also have what you call software. And if somebody goes to make a confession to a Catholic priest, it was only immoral for that priest to go out to disclose what the person said. These are three professions. We are bound by almost the same oath. So it is improper for her to disclose, but I think she okay. You understand? That's where
I just want to add to what Nana is saying. When Madame Betty Mould Iddrisu said she was a cabinet minister and she has sworn oath of secrecy. That's to keep everything confidential. It doesn't mean that if you are representing people, everything is in the air. That's why you take 2 oaths when you are president nominates you and you are vetted in Parliament. You take 2 oaths. You know, Nana, you were chief of staff.
Yeah, oath of office.
Oath of office
And oath of secrecy.
and then oath of secrecy. These 2. In other words, you're doing things on behalf of people. You cannot endanger their lives by bringing everything always to the open. So this is what Madame was saying. Madame was not saying that she won't speak to anything about the subject matter, but that whatever happened between say for example, she may have given some counsel to the president, or the president may have said something to her, then she gets angry and just come out, oh, on this day I told president this, on that day president said this. That's what she meant. But not that she was intending to keep anything. Excuse me. But not that she intended to withhold anything as far as information about the CP was concerned. She was saying that if they go into any area concerning the time when she was Attorney General or she was Minister, she was afraid she couldn't go there because she swore oath of secrecy and she's an honorable person. She'll be bound by that. That is what it means.
You don't seem satisfied.
Are you okay?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Look, and it's not only she. MPs also swear that. Yeah. He said once you are acting for the
Not
state.
only that, priest. Also,
There's a line.
oh, sorry. Oh, Chief.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Alton Boga. I work with Joy.
Yes.
And with your permission, I'd like to move away from to other issues that I was
You want to move away from
the CP issue and then go into other issues that I was
No, but I did say it clearly. If we within CP, yes. If for any other matter, we'll have time for that. I can assure you that we have answers to all the official jobs that she did. But you can understand where we are. Let's keep to CP for now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For what? Where is that? Obama.
And would you suggest or advocate for any punishment inflicted on anybody who is found to have, as it were, subjected Ghana to this kind of situation in the CP? Another judgment is because I believe that maybe a due process might not have been exercised somewhere, or somebody out of negligence would have done this to bring this situation into being. And again, don't you suggest that because of lack of national policy on certain issues, that's why some of these things are happening? Because I believe if we are entering into a commercial contract and you have read and understood all the nitty-gritties concerned, you must be very careful in appending the city, because most of the times small new government come, they feel and think that maybe some fishery might have gone on somewhere. That's why some of them try to abrogate the contract. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think that you certainly have a point about the implications. You see, in the past we had what we term Attorney General's fiat judgment, and under the Attorney General's fiat, you couldn't sue the state unless you give Attorney General some notice, 1 month notice and whatnot. It enables the Attorney General study the case and whatnot, and it's abuse. Okay, because you know that yes, then nothing happens, and then the state goes off without any punishment or whatnot. Listen, with the coming into force of 1992 Constitution, these powers of fiat were removed. So the state now comes at the power of the ordinary citizen. So if the state delays in paying you for a just, you can take the state to court. If you have his property, you can sell it just as you do for what do you call it, an ordinary citizen. So when you talk about punishment, that's another area. As I said, she also indicated it. What we are sitting here saying is that if an Attorney General commits, or like any minister, commits a criminal conduct. He's entitled. The police are there. That one's a different matter. But in a civil matter, our laws do not say send the person to prison. That's what I'm saying. But the point I'm making is that we should encourage. It's very strange, but we should encourage, as citizens in a Republican state, we should encourage the situation where the individual can stand up to big brother government. Otherwise, government also takes it, what do you call it? People for a ride. You can't go to commercial bank, take a loan, and then this one happens. In fact, for the last night, many of the Ghanaian road and building contractors have had their business collapse. It's because government did not pay them over the years. They are holding certificates. Who speaks for them? We as a people must examine this issue. That's why I said the discussion on judgment debt must not be closed. But we shouldn't see it only as though it is targeted at, some government official, a teenager. We should broaden it. If you like, let's call all the team, what do you call it? Those who be supplying things to government. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, well, this also tells us that as a country, when we say we are a developing country, now we say we are middle income country or we are growing into middle income. It also tells us that the way we do business or we conduct our affairs also has to change and grow along. Yes. If you heard Madam Betty very well when she was before PAC, she did say that the image of Ghana was suffering because this company was going around from international fora to international fora saying that this is the country Ghana. They do not live up to their obligations. They are not a country to do business with, and that costs the country a lot. And it also tells us that we cannot willfully just be what should I say, pushing agreements and contracts aside when we have entered into contracts with organizations, as Nana is saying, either local or international. In fact, in contract law, contracts are supposed to be sacrosanct. What do they say? They say sanctity
of contract.
Agreements must be respected.
Agreements must be respected. Sanctity of contracts. And this is what we are living up to now. When they say, oh, our growth rate is going, we are the fastest growing economy, we are happy. When they say, oh, we are growing to middle income country, we are happy. That it also tells us that it goes with certain responsibilities. And this should not be tagged at any particular period of our country. It means that as a country, as we go along, whether this time A or this time B, whether this party is in government or that party is in government, our way of doing business, we've got to change it and be very serious, about it.
Yeah, last question. Oh, no, last question. Let me take a lady. Am I being unfair? Listen, the female attorney general.
My name is Gifty Andopia. I'm with Joy News on Multi TV. I like to Joy News on Multi TV. I like to find out, you raise issues about the conduct and proceedings of the Public Accounts Committee. Is it in reference to your specific case, or it's a general thing?
I think it was general, and I think that I put it directly to the Honourable Chair and the members of the Parliament. I think we reached a mutuality of understanding.
Yes.
As to how to move forward.
So what would be your suggestion to further, let's say, proper in quote proceedings as far as the park is concerned?
Oh, there are a lot of things that need to be done. And unfortunately, they didn't take kindly when I said that I thought they could benefit from a legal counsel. Because, you see, they have a problem because they have the powers of a high court. And yet, unfortunately, there are no real legal, processes to guide them. So, for example, when people come and accuse you As I said, some of them had accused me that this agreement is fraudulent, and you sat down somewhere and conspired with CP to write this agreement, and you made sure that CP got off, they didn't pay taxes. You did that. It was Betty Mould Iddrisu who did that. In law, you can never say that and get away with it. I will challenge you immediately. I have the right to respond. In fact, the Constitution, under Article 90, gives every citizen of Ghana, you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So basic maxims like that were being, not adhered to. And it's because there's this dichotomy between them being a parliamentary privileged committee and yet having the powers of a high court judge. So they needed, I think, in the affluence of time, we'll get there. We'll get there.
You know, there's something in law, every single lawyer will take it up. 2 rules of natural law. 2 only. 1, you must hear the other party before you come to a conclusion. You get me? And then 2, you can't be a judge in your own course. The first one is the Audi Alteram Partem rule. It's what we were complaining was being breached. People were making accusations, literally, killing the spirit of people without the other person being heard. Indeed, in the code of conduct for journalists, I believe it is there that if you pick up a statement from one person, you must at least get the response from the other person before you put it out. But we all do know that it happens, and then they say, "Oh, now what is your? You have breached a natural law." Indeed, we could have stopped the proceedings at that stage.
So, sir, will you thank everybody for us? They've done a brilliant job.
Okay. Madam, last question.
Please, I would like Ms. Betimo to answer this.
Can you speak?
I would like to know, Mrs. Betimo. I'm Joshua J, City FM Online. My question is, Madam, do you have any regrets pertaining this whole issue about CP, about your actions or inactions? And may I ask again, if you are supposed to go back again, would you do things the same way as it happened? Thank you.
Well, let me just answer by saying that I don't think that the situation of that time will ever occur again. Some of us took the opportunity to clean up what had happened. So it depends on the set of circumstances that you meet. I am a human being, so of course, I only have regrets for any errors and mistakes that I may have made as a human being. That is how God made all of us. But professionally, looking at the circumstances, I think I acted at that time in the best possible way. Thank you.
Well, before Seth, you come in, there are at least 5, because there's a new car, there are at least 5 reasons you can say that she acted professionally right. 1, she capped the ceiling. The people were asking for 162, she capped it at 80. There was a 14 earlier on paid. 2, she stopped by the agreement, that settlement agreement, they stopped the interest. Interest was frozen, if you understand that.
At the negotiation stage.
After the negotiation, interest was frozen. So interest was not going to build even during the payment period. 3, the payment that was to be done immediately was spread over 3 years, 2.5 years. You understand? 4, the people were asking for a certain amount, 80, 85, plus 2 road contracts amounting to 170 million euro. That's the 2 road contract, 170. Add the 85 to the 170 euro. You find that you are heading toward 250 million euro. She got them out of the talk for the 2 road contract that we can't give that one to you out. Then, with respect to the figure he said they were demanding, you know, he said we can't go beyond 80. For 14 had been already been paid. So it becomes 94. You understand? So if people were to understand that this is really what we term bargaining on behalf of the state, then she should be commended. She stopped it. She stopped it, and that was the end of the litigation. We are to pay the amount. If at any point in time the outstanding payment is not made, of course the people can go back and then do it. So I think that, well, we've done our bit. She's done a bit. It'll be a long day. Set.
Thank them for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On behalf of Mrs. Mould Iddrisu and her team, I would like to say a big thank you to the media and also other supporters that I can see. We are very grateful. Today is a big day to some of us. We've been waiting, and at the end of the day, we've set the record very straight, and we will see how the
Present status usually has a law to bear on every